We learned a little bit about yourself earlier in the session, but now I want to kind of ask you about your cultural and ethnic background. If you can kind of tell me some of your identities and what they mean to you.
So I identify as a Black African American woman, um, young woman at that. So I'm still learning about myself. Um, I identify as Christian. However, I have been exposed to different faiths and religions. As my mom, she is from New York, so she has a broader perspective on religion. So I've been exposed to um, Muslim as well as Christian, of course, and um, what's it called? I'm sorry, Jehovah Witness. So I've had like a mix of all three. Um, so that's interesting. Um, and my sexual orientation is heterosexual. I do have a boyfriend. Um,
Okay. So, how do you think that your religious experiences have affected you and your identity?
um, it has made me think about the world in a different light. And I don't have even although I identify as Christian, I respect another's practices in their religion, i.e., praying, multiple times a day, or Ramadan, which is like the, you know, fasting and whatnot. So I respect that type of difference in religion. So it
Mm-hmm.
made me, I'm not stuck on one thing, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So also you mentioned that you identify as a Black African American. Obviously, in today's society, there is um, present racial issues and movements going on. So I want to know like how that affects you and how that's kind of influenced, if you feel like that's influenced you at all.
Yeah, I would say it definitely has. A lot has been going on, especially this year. And it brings frustration to me sometimes, and even sadness. And that frustration and sadness can turn into anger. But I then have to, step back outside of myself and, that's not like how, with all the police brutality and whatnot, and, the oppression against Black people and, whites, oppressing Black people. I have to step outside of myself and think, okay, well, this is not everyone who identify as white. So I have to remember, I can't judge, someone walking down the street who is white, um, that they're rude and they're like that too, they're racist. I can't think that way, even though sometimes just watching everything in the media, you get that way because it's been going on for so long. So I mean, it's something that I'm still working through, um, and I don't talk a lot about it. And I think that's probably another thing too. Like I probably just bury it most of the time. Which is very hard for me right now to even figure out the words on how to express to you how I feel about that. So
Why do you think that you bury it?
maybe because I feel like it's so much bigger than me. It's been, like I said, it's been going on for so long, um, hundreds of years. I don't even know where to start, and how I feel. And then also I don't like conflict. So that might be another thing. I'm just like, okay, but I don't really talk through it, and that might be an issue. Um,
Yeah. So you kind of feel like it's bigger than yourself kind of thing.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So how do you feel about you being a African American female and me being a white counselor? How do you think that that makes you feel? Do you have any issues with that or?
I don't necessarily have an issue, but um, just being who I am. And like I have to trust someone or feel like I trust them in order to sit down and disclose how I actually really feel. And then even like, me being an African American woman and you being Caucasian, sometimes I feel like you might not understand everything.
Mhm.
So that might be another thing when it comes to not necessarily disclosing everything or how I feel. I might just, shy away from certain questions or things. But I don't want to feel that way. I want to be comfortable in this counseling environment with you. But that is a thing to where I feel like sometimes you just wouldn't understand.
I completely understand. There's obviously going to be some things that you may discuss, some experiences that you may have that I do not understand as a Caucasian woman. So, but we also, I hope that you understand that this is a comfortable space. I do value your experiences, and I want you to feel comfortable enough to bring up any kind of issue, cultural, ethnic, racial issue that you may have. Also, if you feel like I have misunderstood something or maybe I didn't understand exactly how you were saying it, please bring that to the discussion. I want to talk about it. Let's work through that kind of so we're on a mutual understanding. We can better get through this.
Thank you.
Okay, so you kind of talked a little bit about your family's religion and that kind of spirituality. I was wondering if you could kind of tell me a little bit more about that. Are you close with your family? Do you see them as a support system?
Um, yeah, in a light, I'm very independent. Um, and I think that's something that I have to work on as well because I moved up here when I was 18, went to undergrad at NCCU, and um, I'm in grad school. So I've been putting myself through school for X amount of, well, certainly about 6 years now. Um, and I remember specifically undergrad, I didn't really call anyone and whatnot in reference to like, like help and whatnot. But I'm growing out of that, and sometimes I have two sisters, and one younger brother. Me and my mom were not that close in reference to like our relationship. Like, I mean, it's mom and daughter, but as far as like, can I call her and speak about like what I'm going through? No. Um, I'm getting a little bit more open with my older sister Tamika. She helps me with a lot of things. I can ask her just about like certain like things in life as far as like adulting. Um,
Okay, so you kind of value your relationships with your family. It seems like you're pretty close with your sister. You're kind of working on being more close with your mom. How do you think that that has influenced your family dynamic?
um, it's working itself out as time goes by. I think a communication thing is also like something that we have to work on. Because like we're always so like to ourselves in a sense, but together at the same time. Like I don't talk to my mom every day. Probably haven't spoken to her probably within the last week. That might be another issue too. Maybe like just trying to check up on her more often. Um, and whatnot, like just speaking more. And we were doing that over the summer, but things got a little hectic with like COVID and working, and me going back to school. So um, that's just something that we have to work on as far as like communication. Just remembering like to check up on one another every now and then, and not necessarily waiting about 2 or 3 weeks to speak to each other.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Communication is key, especially when trying to build and maintain relationships.
But yeah, for sure, like just going back to what I was saying earlier, like with our communication, I feel like that has something to do with the connotation of being like African American and strong and whatnot. Like just and me being independent, I think that also it's connected that way. Um, as like my relationship with my mother isn't too good. It's just like that mother daughter type of relationship. It's it's always been her way or, no way at all. And I've never been, like when I was a child, I really couldn't express myself because it was just what it was. Like, for instance, if I got like A's and B's and I would expect like, well, I would ask my mother like, like what would I get if I got this? And she's like, this is something you're supposed to do. And then that would just shut me down. I just like, okay, whatever, like, and just it was just like a general type of living. And then like also like I even through expressing myself with like music, like my mom, she was not for that at all. Like I remember having like I was a big Nicki Minaj fan, and I remember having it on my walls in my room. And I remember one time her just tearing it down and just saying that, that she was this and that and misogynistic and all that good stuff like that. So sometimes I mean, I don't know, it's so much to say. I don't even know how I can even summarize all of it right now in this session, but I hope to work all of that um, through future sessions with you. Um, so yeah.
It definitely, so it seems kind of like your mom kind of had this different view of like these high expectations of you, and you kind of had like a different view from her. So it seems that you guys kind of were conflicting in that kind of area. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I really hope that you have enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for coming in today. I want to thank you. Also, in the future, I hope that you feel comfortable enough to bring up any of these issues, racial, cultural, ethnic issues at all. Please just understand that I do value your experiences and value you. So I hope to see you next week for our next session.
Thank you.